proposed ordinance setting forth the plan. And I don't see the rest of your folks yet, Pam, but there's coming in. You ready to get started? Okay, go ahead.
I was told this should be brief, so I'm going to be brief. I'm just going to kind of go through the plan document, not the ordinance, but the plan that's right behind the draft ordinance, because I think, number one, it answers some of the questions about the differences between the goals that are listed on the draft ordinance, just because the objectives get more specific. And then I'm going to go through, we only got one email with questions, specific questions, so I'm just going to go through those and answer those as best I can, and then if anybody has anything else, I can do that. So the TDC mission and vision statements are the first part of our plan. That's what guides everything that we do. Our mission is to promote and facilitate travel to and within Wakulla County for the benefit of its economy, residents, and the travel tourism industry. And our vision is to be recognized as the county's official marketing and management organization to responsibly promote and protect the natural resources, recreational opportunities, and rich heritage of Wakulla County in coordination and collaboration with the Board of County Commissioners, Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development Council, civic and educational organizations, and tourism industry partners. So our first goal, and this is what's listed in your draft ordinance as number one, prioritize use of revenue. And that is to promote Wakulla County tourism through partnerships, events, and advertising focusing primarily on nature and heritage-based tourism. We do that through the following objectives. Objective one is to expand our partnerships and advertising opportunities through continued memberships in regional cooperative associations, such as Visit Florida, Florida Association, actually that is now the Florida Association of Destination Management Organizations, and the Natural North Florida Partnership. We support local efforts, events, and festivals that share our common vision of promoting and protecting the natural resources and rich heritage that we have here that makes us a tourism destination. We support educational programs and events that will increase public awareness of our natural and cultural resources and also provide increased capacity for tourist-related businesses in the county. Most recently, we supported and were a big part of the Maritime Heritage Symposium that was held at FSU Marine Lab. That whole program was based on an outcome of developing tours and itineraries that our charter captains and green guides can use to actually take people on tours. So it's a way of creating business through tourism. The second page, we're still under goal one, is the rest of these objectives for that goal, which is to monitor, improve, and actively market the Big Bend Scenic Byway project activities through participation in the corridor management entity, funding support, and partnerships with other organizations, with other organization members of the CME. We monitor and actively pursue advertising opportunities in print publications, web-based, and other appropriate media venues. And then finally, we participate in select tourism conferences, meetings, and conventions as deemed appropriate by the Council to maintain and increase knowledge of tourism marketing trends and expand our partnership and networking opportunities with similar organizations, which is key to our promotion efforts based on our size and our rural nature. That was goal one, and as noted in your the draft ordinance, the TDC allocates about 75% of their budget toward that goal. And I will answer more specifically later about how we came up with that, because that was one of the questions, but I just wanted to keep you aware of what we're talking about with each goal. Our second goal is to create promotional programs and materials that will create awareness and attract targeted markets to visit Wakulla County. That includes the review and update of our current inventory of tourist-related publications for distribution at the Welcome Center, the Visit Florida Welcome Centers, tourist-related businesses, and other appropriate attractions and locations across the county and in our region. We update and expand the Wakulla TDC website to improve its visibility and internet marketability, maintain and continually expand the social media marketing efforts, and work with our stakeholders to define and attract targeted markets. That goal is we have allocated about 20% of our budget to that. Goal 3 is about educating the citizens of Wakulla County on the potential financial impact to our local economy of nature and heritage-based tourism, because tourism is economic development. Our first objective was to establish partnerships with the local Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Council through active participation in the Chamber and EDC meetings and events. We educate our local citizens and businesses on council activities through presentations at local civic organization meetings and events and our public roundtable meetings. We educate and inform local citizens and businesses through local media and the Visit Wakulla website. And we are establishing a mechanism to record visitor demographics, expenditures, and satisfaction to gauge our return on investment of the various marketing and advertising things that we do. That we have a 3% allocation of our budget to that goal. Goal 4 is to develop short-term and long-range strategic plans for tourist development. Under that goal, we hold our annual retreat to establish and subsequently review and update the TDC strategic plan. We establish measurable goals, objectives, and action items for implementation of the strategic plan and provide quarterly progress reports to the County Commission on the status of our council initiatives and activities. So that is our strategic plan.
Before you go on, I think because you talked about answering some questions, but I don't think the board knows what the questions are. So
Okay.
I made a copy of my email for each of the commissioners.
Okay.
That many questions?
At my last summer suggestion, at our last meeting when Alan proposed having a workshop, we were all instructed if we had any questions or concerns to get those to Pam before the TDC workshop. And rather than sit and meet with her and then have her try to remember what we said and explain that to TDC, I thought it might be easier just to put things down on paper. And just so you know where these thoughts came from, some were just questions or suggestions from citizens. Some were things that had been mentioned to me by various staff. Some were my own questions and ideas. So that's where this, and I think Pam indicated she was going to go through these. So I just want you to know what she's responding to.
Yes, and we did, and thank you for doing the email. That was helpful. I did not copy the email. I copied the body of the email for my Tourist Development Council, and we went through these at our last meeting and answered them among ourselves. But because of sunshine, I didn't want to, I didn't copy the Lynn Arts to.
Yeah, it was a little awkward knowing that Alan was going to be at the meeting, but it sounds like you handled it well.
Yes, all they knew was that these questions were asked. They just didn't know from where they came. So the first part of your email it talks about the descriptions of and the distinction between the revenue use categories 1 and 2 in the ordinance, which are really goals 1 and 2 of our strategic plan. That's on the chart of the ordinance, it's broken down in 4 pieces, and those are those 4 goals that I just went over with you. And so the question was what the differences are between the first 2 categories and how the allocations of the 75% and 20% were determined. So the objectives that are listed in the plan, I was hoping that just, seeing the specifics would help you to understand some of the differences between those 2 goals. The main difference is that Goal 2 really relates to our collateral materials, the things that are the printed, the rack cards, the tear-off maps, any of the promotional items that we can hold and we actually could take inventory of and that are passed out at trade shows and conventions and visitor centers and those types of things. Goal 1 really refers more to our marketing and advertising that are the more finite things, like advertising in a certain publication for a month or doing commercials for some period of time on a television or, those sorts of things. So it's a lot more about ads and advertising in that first arena than the second, which is more about, like I said, the kind of longer term materials and things that you can hold in your hand. The allocations were determined by taking the last 2 fiscal years, and I went through the exercise when I was preparing for the strategic planning meeting for my Tourist Development Council of assigning, the expenditures that we've made over the last couple of years to the goals that we have set. And this is pretty much how they came out, that we were spending, most of our money, obviously 2/3 of our money, or 3/4, on goal 1, and then, on through the goals. The reason for that is not only just because that is our priority, that is definitely our number 1 priority goal, but it's also the place where the costs of the things that we do are highest. The advertising costs outweigh, what we pay for rack cards, for instance, and tear-off maps exponentially. A print advertising can cost you, several hundred to several $1,000s, and as well as TV commercials and those types of things. Rack cards, tear-off maps, those things are usually a few $100s, maybe up to a couple of thousand, but never. And it's it's a longer term thing. So it's both a matter of priority and the fact that it just costs more to do the things that we consider part of Goal 1, under Goal 1. Just want to make sure I've got all my... And, of course, when we discussed this at our strategic planning meeting, we did, the TDC determined that we feel very much like we're on the right track in terms of how we're moving forward with our marketing and our promotions, and so no one really wanted to change as far as the allocation or the amount of percentage of dollars we were spending in each category, because we felt like that was appropriate for our plan and what we want to do.
And I got just a background question. Ms. Hartson, your section 1 in your 3rd paragraph, you say further, how do these categories and allocations relate to the goal of putting more heads in beds? Is that the specific goal of the statute, is to get more people to spend the night? Or is it to get people to come to Wakulla County?
It's the goal is to promote and bring more people to Wakulla County as tourists. But because the tourist development tax is on lodging facilities and people spending the night, then it's, I guess, good business sense that you put the majority of your money towards, continuing that.
I guess what I'm saying is, when people come for the Stone Clair Festival, the South Chubby 4th of July, all those people come down here and spend money at restaurants and local businesses. I think that's also a valid.
Oh, it absolutely is, and we have reason for that.
If your intention was saying, we need to use this money to get people to stay in hotels, and that's it, or are you trying to get people to visit the Refuge or the Springs or the 4th of July? Or
what Pam is the one who used the expression "heads in beds" as part of her, as explaining what had been drilled into her as what they needed to do as the TDC. Now, I see value in the short-term tourists as well, and I know some people like TNT Canoe and some of the others who a lot of their business depends on the short-term visitors. Then I'd like to see all of them benefit and thrive too. It's the heads in beds is what Pam had previously emphasized as something they needed to
Yes, but not to the exclusion of ever, promoting in any other way. I mean, it should be one of our main priorities and our main goals as TDC to bring people to spend the night, because the longer they're here, the more money they spend. That's just the whole point of it. Plus, again, that since the tourist development tax is all based on those heads and beds, it just makes sense to help continue your funding to promote. The more you can get heads and beds, the more money you can promote that will bring people either to spend the night or stay the day, and it just grows that way.
I guess an example would be you could spend your money two ways. You could either promote Holiday Inn or the Lodge or whatever. You could promote T&T Hideaway, and maybe they would go there, and then go, as a consequence of coming here, they would stay the night. But they're not directly marketing to them to, come down here and spend the night, but, come down here and...
Well, we don't really market to
hotel.
Say, yeah, to hotel, to say come spend the night at Best Western. We make sure that all of that information about where you can stay and what you can do. We also don't do anything that says go to T&T either. We just make available the information and the awareness about all the things that we have to offer, and that it takes more than a day to do Wakulla County, and so we do all the things that we do are to, again, hopefully bring people that will come and spend the night, because that's better for all of the businesses.
I guess that's kind of my point.
But it's not to the exclusion of ever helping to promote people that will come down for a day trip, because you need those people too.
I guess my point is, though, even though the beds and heads is your benchmark to see if you're doing your job, marketing these other things is what is an indirect result.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I personally don't see that it is valuable to exclude it or to narrow the focus so much, but I think when they're looking at how they're spending their time and their dollars, it makes sense to try and encourage longer stays.
Right.
So,
and to reach reach out to a broader audience geographically, you say, we're still actually under that first one, and it says the second category initially sounds like it will be to develop new marketing campaigns for new markets, but the examples in parentheses, and you're referring to the draft ordinance,
right.
Refer to continuing to do XYZ. Well, that goal is to do both. It is to identify our target audiences and continue to look for who our target audiences are, but to also continue, our inventory and for instance, our tear-off maps. We have found those to be really popular and really successful in the travel shows and trade shows. So when we started running low on those, we immediately went into update and reprint mode of those maps. So we'll continue to do the things that work, as well as create.
Yeah, I think now that I see how closely these goals follow what's in the ordinance, I guess the only thing I would probably just say, create and update materials, which is really what this goal seems focused on. When you're talking about the handouts and the website and whatever, it's not, when I think of a program, I think of it that it's more of a campaign or initiative that you're rolling out something that's based on some kind of a theme or whatever.
Well, and it could be that. I mean, it could be that. We do some of all of that. I mean, we have, in fact, an opportunity that I just found out about Thursday at our Natural North Florida meeting through Visit Florida to put together a package, a promotional kind of getaway package that they're getting ready to put out to all of the big, huge feeder markets around the nation. And So in that sense, I would see us putting together the time and whatever that we spend putting that together and getting it packaged and put together for, in the format Visit Florida wants it, as meeting one of the goals, as meeting that goal number 2. So I wouldn't want to take out programs because we...
See, that's where it seems more like what you're doing in one. And even the example you just gave almost sounds more like what you're doing in one to me. But that's fine. You've explained,
I'm really just want to... I think the most important thing is that it's there.
Well, I better understand the part on Section 1. I better understand where these descriptions came from in the allocation. I think the second section, which I'd like to get to, evaluation 2, is really, of all the things in this list, maybe my personal priority for if we're going to add another category to the ordinance,
well, but we've
including
addressed
evaluation.
We've addressed that. We have an objective in Goal 3 that is to establish a mechanism to record our visitor demographics, expenditures, and satisfaction to gauge return on investment. So that's part of Goal number 3. That's Objective 3.4.
I'll jump around a little bit on this. Have you had professional marketing people talk to your group?
Yes, we have. And that's further, there's another question further down, but I'll go ahead and talk about that. Actually, it's number 5 under expert consultation. First of all, we have consulted with a marketing professional that was supplied to us through a program that Visit Florida did. It was the Rural Tourism Marketing Program. And they paid a marketing expert to come and meet with us. They met with us one-on-one with some of our businesses, with some of our TDC members, and then came up with a list of recommendations for a good marketing campaign, which is what we then turned into the grant application for the grant that we got $50,000 to implement that marketing campaign. So we had that expertise there. We are part of Visit Florida, Visit Natural North Florida, Florida Association of Destination Marketing Organizations, National Scenic Byways, our America's Byways Resource Center. All of these partners, the Big Bend Scenic Byway, have a wealth of marketing professionals that we have access to anytime we need it, and we use that. And then, before you, just let me finish. We also have really talented and expert marketing professionals right here in Wakulla County that we have used and that have provided excellent advice and product for our tourism activities. And then finally, while I didn't come into this as a marketing expert, over these years that I've been working with tourist development, I have become I don't like the word expert, but I have become a professional in rural tourism marketing, and I am recognized for that at a national level and at a state level.
How about proficient?
Proficient. That's a great word. I like proficient. So it's a little, and insulting is also a strong word. Maybe, Randy, you can help me with that one too. But I'm a professional. We partner with organizations who have the expertise that we need. We have actually consulted with a separate consultant marketing expert. I feel really good about our plans and how we move forward with our tourism marketing.
In the event that today we found out that 85% of our tourism is related to fishing. Let's just say that, and it may very well be. what percentage of your budget then would you say that would be directed toward that exclusively? Is your marketing directly tied into the product that we most use?
I think that kind of goes back, Jared, to the survey that was mentioned. I think Ms. Artson mentioned it in here, and I assume that's part of your evaluation, that if you
Yes.
did find out that 80% of the people are staying in the hotels just to go fishing, then I guess that would kind of not redirect, but it would...
Well, that's what I'm saying, because, and they may not, I know a huge number of people stay in the,
St. Mark's.
well, they
Shell
stay
Island.
in Shell Island. But I know that there's a lot of day trips that are made for fishing, and I saw a guy put almost $600 of gasoline in his boat the other day. Just one person in one particular point.
Well, and that's part of the reason for the grant that we got through Visit Florida that we're getting ready to implement for the evaluation of our visitor demographics to see not just where they're coming from, but what they're doing when they're here. And I would say that, you know, if we found that a large majority of them were fishing, then of course that helps us with our advertising in terms of maybe we would
that's what
put our advertising dollars in some of the fishing magazines, but also it may also be an indication that we need to be creating awareness about some of the other incredible things that there are that people don't realize are here yet. You see, so it's yes, we take advantage of that large, you know, market of fishermen and market to them, but we also look at, you know, wonder why we are world renowned for bird watching, but that's not showing up, you know. So there's
the birds are only contributing a nickel to the overall picture, then why, you know, I'm just...
I think what she's saying is...
I'm saying you look at the big picture.
They could be contributing 15 cents if people were more aware of them.
And the little things add up to the bigger things, you know. And it also, you know, it kind of works into the whole, when you talk about local benefit of TDC, is the livability aspect of what it's like to live in a place like Wakulla County that has all of these things. And I mean, that we actually...
I know that if I'm selling a product, though, I'm going to focus my marketing on that product. And I know that you've got some accessory and so forth. But if I have a product to sell, I'm not going to sell people on the bicycle trail. I'm not going to sell Ms. Art's flowers. I'm going to sell fishing. I'm going to sell the coast.
Well, and that has been a recent priority of our council. They've seen that.
I think you're just saying hypothetically. You're not talking about anything real. You might find that 85% of people come for the flowers, so you want to sell the flowers.
And I think the grant that you've gotten to look at the demographics and so forth is great.
Right.
I think that's an important step in the right direction.
Right.
I mentioned the St. Mark's visitor survey.
Right.
Because in their analyses, their visitors were basically all from this 3-state region: Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. And there were a smattering from distant states and international, but it was actually Sharon Liggett who said that she thinks they're here mainly because they're visiting people at FSU. And then they come down here, so that, it would make more sense to market to the FSU folks rather than try to market longer distances. But anyway.
From a standpoint of your research, Hoses is probably your best location for research, because all of my friends and all the people I know, they know Poses. And I know that hundreds of people come into Poses from all over everywhere because of the recognition,
that's one of the reasons why Cherie is such a valuable council member, because she provides that input. She's the one that tells us what people are saying when they come into the restaurant, and we act on those things.
Cherie knows what everybody.
Yeah, that's one market.
In our business, that's a really good trait. So, but we have other people around our table also. Mr. Patel does a great business, and he's very interested in finding out, what works best in his advertising and marketing. So he asks those questions too. So basically, to answer your question regarding, looking at the St. Mark's survey and that sort of thing, we intend to do that. We intend to look at theirs and see also what Mr. Patel is collecting and put together what we think makes sense as a survey, that meets our needs. Because part of this grant is not just to do that baseline, but to leave us with a methodology to continue to gather and evaluate it. So that's where we are on that. The lodging and visitor data, that's going to be part of our evaluation. That you ask about us looking at that. That certainly will be part of our evaluation. When you talk about pre-testing concepts, slogans, advertisements, the partners that we have, the other tourism industry professionals that we work with to develop and implement our most effective advertising and promotional strategies are kind of tailored to meet the needs of a rural tourism destination like ours with similar funding sources. I don't know. We are doing really well to do all of the things that we do now, and we're getting ready to add to that. This whole idea of continuing to survey and record return on investment and that sort of thing. So I don't know that a pre-test of our concepts, and it's rare that we do something that hasn't been tested in some way, either through these other regional partners or have been recommended to us by some, marketing expert.
I think it would make the most sense if you're planning to spend a lot of money on, like, broadcast advertising, for example, and especially if you're initiating a new campaign. And again, that can link into having experts who do that kind of stuff all the time involved in some of those activities too. But I agree, you don't want to do it for every little thing because it's time consuming.
And then you talked about needing to add some type of technical review. And you said that you'd been told by a wildlife biologist that there's a technical inaccuracy on the videos, or at least one of the videos. And, we would never turn down a volunteer that's willing to provide some technical expertise or review. It would be helpful to know what the inaccuracy is. Just telling us there is one isn't real helpful. But again, these are promotional videos. They're 30-second spots. They're meant to use for commercials and that sort of thing. They're not meant to be interpretive. They're not something that we use to teach people about the wildlife and it's to catch their attention, make them want to come here, see how beautiful it is or whatever, and engage them in a feeling.
Misinformation.
Was it, Ms. Arts, is it something like, instead of calling it kubus kielbasa, they called it kubus?
No,
Something like that?
again, I'm not the best person to explain it, but it had to do with fire and pines, and what's accurate for sand pines, which is a tiny percentage of our forest, is not accurate for most pine forests. And
In our promotional videos?
Yeah, this is what was said to me.
Fire for it.
But
I don't remember there being anything in our promotional videos about fire.
about pines, anyway, you might want to go back and look at them.
Well, I don't.
But I think
Really,
your
what I need
suggestion
is
then
for
is
that
to
person to tell me what to look for. I won't look at it and know what in the
right,
world
but you don't
somebody-
want to have a video come out and then have people telling you that was a mistake. And all I'm suggesting is volunteers are fine, but you might want to have a panel of experts so that if you know, who are willing to just take a look at things, you know,
beta
that's a
version.
suggestion. Yeah,
A beta version.
yeah.
Tim, I have a question on, when people, one of the points here, when people come into the county, we really don't have anything that says, this is really a nice place to be. St. Mark's has a much nicer entrance to their city than we have to the county. Our county doesn't say anything. We need something of size that will basically jump out and grab people. And
Ours is
say,
better.
My goodness, this is a wilderness.
This is Wakulla
That
County.
is-
I agree with you completely, and so does the TDC. We've already actually have the design for a gateway sign.
It's got to be big
that-
enough to grab you.
Yeah, I understand. We understand that. We understand that, and we've already, you know, our plans were to do 5 of them. I think there were 5, like, sort of
That would be
entryways,
good.
4 entryways to the county that we intend to put these signs in. Now, part of the problem is that you can't just put them in DOT right away, because then they have to meet all their sign rules, which are not gateway signs. They have to break away. They have to do all that stuff. So you have to either find,
county sign.
you know, some.
Beautiful sign. Which actually,
It's a big metal sign. It just looks like a regular metal
Miss
sign.
Arch, you're gonna love this. Later tonight, I was
Yeah,
gonna
I
talk
don't want a
about-
big
and I
metal
talked
sign.
to
That's
Brent
not the
about this.
design that we've come up with, is a big metal sign. What we've come up with makes it look, in fact, it's similar to what St. Mark's did in terms of the and Panacea too, in terms of the pilings and that thing, to
Gotta
make
be-
people understand they're coming into a coastal county. That's what we want to relay.
Big enough, though, to jump out at them. It can't be something that they just drive by. Panaceas, you drive by. St. Mark's is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But we just have such potential to do something that people can't pass without seeing it.
I'm gonna bring up later when we're fixing to resurface 319, and at least ask DOT if maybe some of these concrete islands and some of these hashed areas between turn lanes, if we could put some sort of landscaping of some sort there. You know, I agree, when you drive in the county, you wanna, you know, say, hey, this is a nice place, not just, hey, that's a nice road. Anyway, so that kind of goes along, not exactly a gateway.
And I'm
but
glad
it is
you're-
DOT right away.
You're already moving forward.
We're already
with that.
moving forward
Is your-
with that.
Is your budget, is your design and your direction, is it flexible if halfway through the year, something comes to your attention that, hey, this is going to be a better way to spend our money? Is this
Absolutely.
budget- Your budget's not cut in stone.
Well, yeah, it's cut in your stone. It's cut according to what you've approved. Now, but we have a category that says advertising, and it says, look, this much money for advertising in our budget. What we have flexibility with is where we advertise, who we advertise with, what we do with that amount of money within that. So yeah, we have to be able to be flexible that way, because for us, not having large dollars to, you know, just thousands and thousands of dollars, we have to take advantage of things as they come. Oftentimes, it's last minute, you know, people trying to fill up their magazine last minute will give you a great rate when it was, you know, $4,000 before, now it's down to $1.
I'm sort of like a lot of people in the county. I hear about the TDC, and I've talked with you a little bit. I hear about it, but I don't ever see it.
And you're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to, and that's what I keep trying to. I mean, it's not that the community shouldn't know we're here. Obviously, they should know that we're here. But first of all, I think that if you talk to most of the tourist-related businesses in Wakulla County, including restaurants, they know that TDC is here, and they're pleased with what we're doing. At least that's the the comments that we get back from the people that we serve in that way.
And I think if your
but-
budget reflects that, Pam, because only 3% is to educate the citizens of Wakulla County. You know, it's not meant to be,
It's not
meant to educate us. We already know it's a great place. I guess it's meant to educate.
No, and again, tourist development is economic development. And it probably employs, I'm guessing, this is a guess, that it employs as many people as any other industry in this county, if you count all of the restaurants and the outfitters and, you know, all of the lodging facilities and all of that stuff. And, you know, when we're doing our job, it's bringing customers to these businesses who can then expand or maybe bring in new businesses that can take care of these visitors that we bring in. You know, part of what's been suggested is that we need to do more things that people can see here in the county, and we get the gateway things. We're happy to do the gateways, you know, into the community, but tourist development brings, if our tourist development tax is increased, then so has our sales tax, because somebody that stays in a hotel has to also pay sales tax. And chances are they're not just spending their money at the hotel. Chances are they're going to a restaurant and they're paying sales tax at the various places of business. If they stop for gas, they're paying gas tax. You know, and those taxes have earmarks for doing the kind of infrastructure that you might think would be tourist related. Park improvements and those kinds of things can be funded from sales tax. And I guess I'm saying that we can take some of the credit, TDC, for raising that sales tax, because sales tax is not just paid by the local people, it's paid by visitors too. So that's how we bring up our economics in our community, is by putting most of our dollars into promoting and getting people here, and then they're going to spend their money in their businesses, and they're going to pay those other taxes that can help improve the ball field or improve a boat ramp or, you know, do those kinds of things. But the minute you start taking TDC funds and putting them into those types of things, infrastructure and things like that, where we can't effectively promote, well, then the visitors go down, which sales tax go down, you know, everything goes down. So that's where we're coming from in terms of our vision and our mission, and our focus being on marketing and promoting Wakulla County as a tourism destination, and not just making people aware of what's here, but actually creating product. I mean, that's part of tourism, especially rural tourism marketing, is actually creating product. We've done that with the Big Bend Scenic Byway. That is an actual product that we can go out and sell on a national and international level that brings people here just because of that thing, that Big Bend Scenic Byway. You know, the idea of creating a maritime heritage trail or fishing trails, or, you know, any of those kinds of things that the TDC would get involved with putting together, that's product that we're developing that we can then sell to the customers. So,
I know our time is short, and I had a lot of things I wanted to review even before today that I didn't have time to do, but I do want to share some with the other commissioners. I had asked, Heather explained to me about the value of having a detailed plan out of the ordinance, but some specifics within the ordinance, which I think some of the public doesn't appreciate. They want to see more detail in the ordinance. But I understood her rationale, and I know if there's time she can explain that maybe to everyone. But I also asked her to look at if she could gather some other ordinances for me, which I would hope you've looked at, but I wanted to see some. And so I'm just going to share with you what Heather pulled for some examples of how some other counties, and I kind of like the Alachua, or the Palm Beach one, I guess, was one. But anyway, so for future, because we aren't going to have time to talk about this today. And then I was also trying to look at some other tourist plans, and I didn't get very far in that. But I do know there are also some citizens who have thought about this and would like an opportunity to talk. And I do appreciate the council thinking about some of these questions and explaining to me. I think there's some that, having heard what you say, I agree, maybe it doesn't make sense to do now. There's some others that I hope maybe you'll try to embrace.
Okay.
But anyway, so
just-
that's all I
well,
wanted to say.
And, I want for everyone to have a chance, but I just wanted to address the Welcome Center expenses. Mr. Edwards came and spoke to the TDC at our last meeting and talked to us about the possibility of taking over the payment of the utilities, and I guess the security. I think that's mainly it. We already pay the phone bill. And he has since sent us a printout of expenditures, I think last year's expenditures that we're kind of looking at. The utilities seem really low, so we're really wanting to kind of follow up with progress or something to make sure because they seem really low.
We were surprised.
Yeah, but what
Don't ask.
well, but we do not want to be surprised by what reality is, and so, but what the Tourist Development Council is asking is that we begin to take on those types of expenditures in our new budget year, so that we can have an opportunity, that's not something that we budgeted in our current budget for this year. This is really our first year of the increased revenues, and it won't even be a full year. So next year would begin our first year of the full, added revenues through the tourist development tax increase, and it would just, be a better way to plan and move forward if we can begin that with October 1st of our next fiscal year.
I got one quick point, Mr. Stewart. On Goal 1, Wakulla County used to be known as a sportsman paradise. I think it had
Right.
a guy with a shotgun, right, Mike? And now we're not promoting hunting anymore, I guess. Is that correct?
We do, on our
That is
website.
nature-based tourism.
Well,
website.
Killing deer.
it's consumptive use. So yes, we do promote that on our website. And David Moody is really active in that, one of our council members. He's really,
There's a lot of people who come down here to hunt. You can drive down.
Well, hunting and
309.
fishing both are consumptive
Yeah.
uses. So yes, we absolutely
You could
do.
take a picture of Tim and his dog and shotgun and put it on a billboard.
The guy used to be on the billboard.
Can this,
The shotgun was a deer in the background.
Gail Hickman, you had some comments, questions?
You remember that?
I am very disappointed in the lack of substance in our county's first tourist development plan. A plan should be a directive. It should have a time frame that's a guide. It sets priorities and establishes target areas. It ties funds to specific tasks. It identifies project by name, events by name, and destinations by name, and assigns responsible players to see that those projects happen. It provides a way of measuring success. This paper does not even mention the Civic Center, the museum, or the Welcome Center. These should be a priority. What is offered here today is merely a list of ideas with no identification of why, when, where, or how. It allows the council and director to do what they want, when they want, without any responsibility. We are dealing with state taxes. This is important. The state has regulations to follow, and they expect counties to comply. If I were required to follow this plan, how could I? Or how could anyone proceed? Where's the guide? Where's the plan? This attempt is unprofessional and off target. I suggest it be scrapped and redone. Thank you.
Hugh Taylor?
Thank you, Commissioners. Here's some random thoughts. This, I've said before, this situation is a mess, but it's also hard to parse in just a few minutes. In a way it's simple, and in a way it's not. It's simple in that if I'd have brought this plan to my supervisors in the private sector, they would have booted me out the door. They would have said, "Are you nuts? Who are you trying to kid? How much are you going to charge? What are you going to do? And how are you going to do it? How much will it cost? And how are you going to measure your results?" It's very, very simple, but this plan doesn't seem to do that. There's no specific allocation for projects and money per the statute or per common business sense. If you get too detailed, I heard that objection, can't get too detailed. Well, this is one of the easiest organizations that has the capability to change their plan. It's a majority plus one. And I don't think, based on what I've seen, that would be such a hard thing to do. How come you can give examples in the plan, but there are no line items? There's not a line item in this plan with concurrent money. There are 200,000 visitors to Wakulla County, and I will say this. The reason my wife and I live here is because of our canoe trips from TNT. You know, that's sold Mary on this thing, and then till my lungs went the way of lungs. But that's what changes the day tripper into something more. You know, how much would it cost? With a built-in, you got 200,000 people coming to one place. How much would that cost to get them to stay here, eat lunch, stay here, shop at the Funky Fiddler in Panacea, stay here and do this, stay here and do that? We don't know about day visitors to the Springs because apparently nobody sat out there with a clipboard asking them questions. No tests. I went up there as recently as this past weekend. No visit Wakulla brochures. There are individual business brochures in their racks, but nothing about Wakulla, a wonderful place to live. I'm again, concerned about quantifying, and Ms. Arts, I think you did a really good job there. But that's all, I guess. Thank you.
Victor Lambeau.
I think the Tourist Development Council has been off to a good start, and I'd like to praise them for doing that. However, they still got a lot more work to do. If you read from the law itself, it says that they shall develop a plan and a list in the order of priority of the proposed uses of the tax revenue by specific project. The plans, and skipping some, the plan should include approximate cost expense allocation for each specific project. Well, here you got, yeah, you got a very general eye here, just by very general categories. You don't have specific projects. For instance, specific project would have been the 5 signs. How much is going to be allocated to it? That's what the law, I think, is calling for. I know this is a good start, and it's hard to do because I've been in that situation myself in government, and you got to spend time, and you say, well, I could be doing something else. But this is money, public money for it. So you need to get there. Now, on the priorities of the type of the general things, I could go on more. It would appear to me that, and I assume the 1, 2, 3, and 4 means 1 is the first priority. The 4th priority is develop a short and long-term range strategic plan for tourist development. It appears to me if you're going to have a plan which is called for, that should be your first priority, because that's telling you what you're going to do. It says strategic, short and long term. So I know the time is short, so I'll quit. Thank you.
Steve Fultz?
Good evening, Commissioner. Steve Fultz, 35 Montecoupe Circle. I very much appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. And I guess I first would like to also commend the TDC. I know that, that they've been under some fire, and they do a good job, and we're just trying to make that better. Sincerely, that's what we're trying to do. I look at this from a business perspective, purely and simply, is how I look at these things. And I guess the first thing that's glaring to me, and this is no disrespect to any one person or any group, but when at this point with the new tax, approximately 50%, prior to the new tax it was more like 75%, but a whole 50% of the TDC budget goes to executive director compensation. That to me is an issue. I don't think there's any business that has any budget that fully 50% of that goes to compensation for one individual that's actually part-time. And that's no offense. That's just where we're at, and that's some of the angst that I have from a business perspective. The other issue that I have from a business perspective is that, in my experience, very clearly, the sales department is much different than the applications or the project management department. Those are two hugely different skill sets. I see this as an outstanding sales promotion. When I read this plan, it's got all of the right buzzwords, it's got all of the right feel, it's got all that right feel-good stuff to you, and that's a sales effort. What we need, I think, is more of the implementation or the project management side, and that is a whole different mindset. That's why sales organizations have their sales department, and they have their applications or management departments that bring these things to task. All of the detail that some previous speakers have discussed about details of these things, that is something the project management team should do. So I don't know how you resolve it, but the concept that because the sales department brings in the business that they should be able to implement the project or the plan, I think you're doomed for failure, because they're two separate skill sets, in my opinion, and what I've seen throughout industry. And that's all I have. I thank you very much, and I do appreciate the efforts of the TDC. Thank you.
Charles Hickman?
Charles Hickman, 528 Hickorywood Drive. Thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to speak. Last time I looked at the calendar, it's coming on 2012. Last time I looked at the Visit Wakulla website, put out by, I guess, Tourist Development Commission. Last time it was updated was 2009. From that, I don't know what to draw, what conclusions. Maybe there's an error on the website.
That's not true, but go ahead.
Okay, that's
okay.
The last time I pulled it up, that's what I saw on there. So, yes, thank you.
Just real quick to that last one, and it's a good time to plug it for everybody who's watching at home. The official website is visitwakulla.com. So make sure, because there's some old websites out there that still link as if they were the TDC website. Well, the YouTube video. So people watch these. Visitwakulla.com. I know they updated it last month. They just updated it again. It's constantly getting updated, new events, new pictures and things.
Any more from the board? We got to wrap it up here. We start in a minute on another meeting. So, anything else? Nope. Okay. We'll adjourn from the workshop, and in 2 minutes we'll move into the county commission meeting.